Good morning. I'm Cadet Commander Aidan Curran, Regimental Commanding Officer of the Delaware Military Academy. Let me begin by thanking Commandant Palella and Commander Easley for the opportunity to share my thoughts on the tragic events that befell our nation on September the 11th of 2001. I am truly honored. Although I wasn't yet born on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, I can say that since that fateful day, America has changed. And Americans, young and old, have changed and adapted to what is often referred to as the post-9/11 world. I once read in American literature about the American dream. It tells the story of immigrants coming to America seeking freedom, individual rights, and the opportunity to fill their dreams they still do today. Tragically, for Balbir Sodhi, a Sikh American gas station owner, his American dream and opportunity was cut short by gunfire in the days following 9/11. Just hours prior to his death, he went to his local Costco to purchase flowers and flags in remembrance of 9/11 and donated all his cash, $75, into a Red Cross relief fund across the street. Negative reaction, hatred, and misunderstanding cost Sodhi his life in the days following 9/11 due to Americans reacting to emotions and perhaps misinformation. As we all know, people die every day, and every second someone is dealing with grief due to personal loss. Imagine the grief so many people are still processing 19 years after the senseless slaughter of 2,997 innocent Americans. What we can say about this day in history is that we have all felt the impact of that event in some form or fashion. The first thing I think of is safety and security. No one can get on an airplane without going through proper security, thankfully. There is way too much hatred around our world and not enough peace. All Americans were knocked down a bit on that fateful day, just as those between those two beautiful twin towers were. But together and as a nation, we coped. We processed our grief, and as a result, we became stronger. As I reflect on 9/11, I see a tragic event that sparked unification in our nation and serves to remind me, and I hope all Americans, the precious value of life and how fortunate we are to live in the greatest nation the world has ever known. Thank you.
Good morning, DMA cadets, families, and guests. It's been 19 years since 9/11 took place on that awful morning. Some of us remember it like it was yesterday, while all our cadets weren't even born yet. So much has happened in this world since 9/11, and one could say that it has faded in time. I am so honored to be a part of today's celebration and thank DMA for keeping this day sacred. Recently, my wife and I had the opportunity to visit New York 9/11's Memorial Museum, a tribute to the remembrance and honor. Occupying 8 of the 16 acres at the World Trade Center, the 9/11 Memorial Museum has become a tribute to the past and a place for hope for the future. Built on the site of the former Twin Towers, it was recently opened to memorialize those who lost their lives and ensure once again the world will never forget. It lies 70 feet below ground, so entering the museum involves descent from the light of the outside into the dimly lit depths, which adds to the overall power and past of this hallowed ground. The museum is filled with massive pieces that bear the scars of tragedy and the small personal objects that perhaps are the most haunting. Smudged reading glasses, a pair of heels, a trampled wallet displayed to reveal its contents of coins and credit cards, a flight attendant's wing lapel. Above all, the museum is a tribute to the victims, to the survivors, and to their loved ones. Numerously exhibits features photographs, audio, videotapes, and recorded testimonies that connected to September 11th, 2001. The World Trade Center dismised as it is about the New York City's resilience. This is especially evident above ground at the Sunwash Memorial, where the parapets are engraved with 2,977 victims' names that surround the twin memorial pools, which shimmer into the footprints of the Twin Towers. Here, beauty has taken place of the tragedy. While visiting the National September 11th Memorial Museum in the sober experience, We learned that it is also remarkably educational for those who attend, with the in-depth exhibits that cover everything from the history of the World Trade Center to the personal stories of survivors, from photographs and videos. The World Trade Center was much more than just a few buildings. The complex consisted of 7 structures covering 16 acres, including offices, the windows on the World Restaurant, and an underground shopping mall. Roughly 50,000 people worked at the World Trade Center complex, while 40,000 passed through it daily. The numbers behind the National September 11th Memorial Museum are impressive. The museum has more than 10,000 artifacts, 23,000 still images, and over 500 hours of film and video. Former President Barack Obama, former President Bill Clinton, and former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, along with the September 11th survivors, rescuers, and victims' relatives, were all present during the opening dedication ceremony of the museum in May of 2014. I remember the mission statement set forth for this hallowed ground memorial: to remember and honor the thousands of innocent men, women, and children murdered by the terrorists in the horrific attacks of September 11th of 2001. And I tell you today, the mission was accomplished. I will never forget where I was on September 11th, 2001. Those awful pictures on TV, watching all those who gave their lives trying to help those trapped in the buildings, and I remember how this country came together and showed their patriotism. All those specials that aired about 9/11. May God bless the United States of America, and may the memory of 9/11 never be forgotten. Thank you.
Good morning, DMA families, fellow faculty, guests, and cadets. As your senior naval science instructor, it is my honor to be able to share a few thoughts with you on this solemn day of remembrance of the events of September 11th, 2001. Though this year marks the first year with a senior class who were not yet born on the day of these heinous attacks on our homeland, you would be hard-pressed to find even one cadet or family who was not affected in some way by that dark day. All of us who lived through that day can recall with great clarity where we were when we first learned of the attacks or viewed the horrible images that flooded our TV screens and all forms of media. That day began as just another routine Tuesday for me as a young Navy lieutenant, making preparations to go to work at the Naval Medical Center in San Diego. However, I would not make it in that day, or for several days thereafter, as many of our typical daily functions were immediately and permanently altered. I recall listening to the harrowing tale from my older sister, who had to run from her workplace over 20 blocks to escape the horrific carnage unfolding in Lower Manhattan. Sadly, she too would become a victim, as she would lose the unborn child that she carried at that time. Thankfully, she has since been blessed with 3 beautiful children, and to some degree, that provides solace to the trauma she endured on that fateful day. As I speak to our cadets today, the post-9/11 world you all have been born into is all that you have ever known, but so many of the adults in your lives know an entirely different experience. My time on active duty could easily be divided into before and after 9/11, as that time in service brought a whole new meaning with the onset of the global war on terror, which was still ongoing at the time of my retirement in 2018. 18 months in 2 deployments overseas to theaters of war being among the sentinel events that punctuated my service, and likely would not have happened were it not for the attacks of 9/11. Other than for the idea of preventing the loss of those 2,977 innocent souls and trauma to the civilized world, I would not have changed any of my time on active duty after 9/11, because out of challenging times, we often see the best in our fellow Americans and ourselves. And now you cadets find yourselves front and center in yet another, though quite different, global challenge in the COVID-19 pandemic. Perhaps the test of time since 9/11, and also a focus on how united the free and peace-loving world citizens were in the aftermath, may provide the example we all need to unite in our approach to the pandemic. In the immediate days after 9/11, there was much to lose hope about, which could have led to a lack of resolve and disunity, but history shows we didn't allow that as a nation. It is not what we do as Americans. We never have and we never will. I challenge you all to not allow those same feelings of hopelessness and futility to set in while we face these circumstances together today. We will emerge from this stronger, and we will do so together. Thank you, and I will see you soon. At this time, we'll proceed to the flagpole for the hoisting of colors and the playing of taps. Thank you.